All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am so excited because I have a special guest with us today. I've got Mr. TryBean coming here from Michigan. Terry with TryBean. Thanks for being here today, my friend.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. And I bet you say that special stuff about all your guests. Go on.
No, dude, I'm telling you, if the people here that are listening today have not heard about you, you need to go like I said, trybean.com, go on there. Terry has been around a while. He's been with the TEDx group for a long time there in Detroit, both as a speaker, as person helping to organize it. But man, just get on his website, check out a couple of his videos there. It's going to make you feel good, make you realize he is a special human. So Terry, thanks for being here today, man. We're gonna talk a little bit about the 4 key elements to making better business decisions, talk about your background, and have some fun. So, as we always like to, let's start off hearing about you, your background, and how you got into doing what you're doing, my friend.
Yeah, I love that, man. I came up as a sales guy. I studied psychology because I was kind of messed up in the head when I was in college. And I was like, well, I got to learn more about this. And then I realized it's cool. Everybody's messed up in the head. That made me feel really good.
There you go. Thank you.
And then I took some communications classes and double majored in those two and thought, man, if I understand how people think and how to communicate effectively with them, I could be a force in business. And so that was the route I chose. And sales was the path of least resistance at the time. So I sold tech. I sold tech people. I worked in the recruiting space for a while. And, I was always out when I was a sales guy or a recruiter doing a lot of networking, right? Network. Who do you know? Who can I help? How can I be of service? And that led me to start my own networking organization once I moved back to Detroit in 2000. Well, in 2000 and 2005, I started my own networking group, and that was a hybrid of online and real world networking. So it was one of the first on the planet. We spun TEDx Detroit out of that. It launched a speaking career. The speaking career launched a coaching career. Those two things led to me writing a couple of books to help people, one, get better at networking, and two, work on their mindset, which came out last year. And, the rest of it's just been, let's go out, serve others, and have as much fun as humanly possible. That's who I am, man.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Because, when people listen here, they're starting to get just a little bit of what I think is cool about Terry here, because we're having a good time. This is just great to be able to talk to you about this. So, what you started out in sales? What was the thing that you liked the most about selling?
Solving problems, man. And the reason I was never a great salesperson, I used to joke about this all the time. I'd walk out of a client visit and I'd have a referral for him and a referral for her and a referral for somebody else. And then I'd forget to ask for business for me. But I was super excited to call them and be like, yo, go call this guy. He needs what you offer. I sucked at some of that part. No, I really didn't. But it was that giving. There was a guy named Steve Crane who was in the office furniture business. Steve had been working in that space for 15 years. I showed up to my networking group. I was probably 26, 27. I gave Steve a lead. About 6 weeks later, Steve came up to me and said, I've been doing this for 15 years. That lead you gave me was the biggest deal I've ever closed. And man, like the Grinch, man, my heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah. So it seems like that you started out in sales, you were helping people, solving problems, and you were building your network, but then it really evolved into your networking passion.
It did, right? Because for me, and I talk about this in the book and I talk about this in training. If you're networking just to grow your business, right, just for leads and referrals, you're going to be a really disappointed networker, especially early on. It's not sales, it's networking. It's a long-term relationship building process.
Yeah.
So you better find a handful of things that you can get from it that aren't just business. Maybe it's business acumen. Maybe it's a ad hoc board of directors. Maybe it's insight and knowledge. Maybe it's invites to cool stuff to do, right? There's a bunch of stuff you can get from being active in networking that isn't just a lead that may or may not grow your business.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I think a lot of people starting out think that, well, I'm going to go out and network and magically it's going to create business. And it's just like, it's like everything else. It takes time to build the relationships, and it's just not people get disappointed. They just fall out, and the people that stick with it are the ones that make it, finally end up making it.
That's exactly it, right? It's just it's not a quick fix. It's what, I don't want to date this, but we're toward the end of the month right now. And if you're like, I'm not at my quota, I better go network, you're doing it wrong, man. That's not when to show up to the event.
Yeah. Yeah. You should have been networking last year to do it now.
That's right. That's exactly it. The word best last quarter, right?
Yeah. Well, and I like, I like your approach and what you're talking about. It's, how can we help others? And referrals are really where it comes out of. And I think in the beginning of networking, and we're going to get to the other stuff, but in the beginning of networking, it really is about just meeting other people, because then, and people ask me too, they go, why do you talk to so many people? You talk to so many people every single month, every single day, whatever you're going. I said, because I want to know everyone. I want to know how special they are, because when I get that person, when I'm talking to her and she's got this problem, and I go, I know that Steve can fix that problem better than anybody else. And I put those two together. That's why you do it. In the beginning, I think that's why you do it, because you want to be the problem solver. You want to be the problem solver, help them find a solution, even when it's not you. And it's just, there was a guy, and his name escapes me now, but he was an awesome gentleman. First, when I was starting out my career in Tennessee, and he sold supplies. I was in a manufacturing plant, and you would ask him something and he would say, I'll find out for you. That guy, no matter what, would find a solution to the problem you had. And when it was time to buy his stuff, and he was selling industrial supplies, where did you go? You always went right there.
That's it. He
never had to worry about it. But anytime, he would find somebody that could help you and do that same thing. But back to this, it got me off and then got going on this. And so you start, it really is. You mentioned it. You said, what can you get from networking in the beginning? Because it's not going to be leads. Well, just meeting cool people, I think, is a cool part of it. Is an incredible part of it.
Well, and your story illuminates one of the things I write about in the book, and that's be a resource for your clients. Now, picture this, right? You're selling telecom services, telephone, internet connectivity, right? And you do that, and you're talking to your client, and they're complaining that their copy machine's broken. Assuming people still have these things in their office, right? And they do, right? If they still have an office. And so the copy machine's broken. And if you notice that and say, hey, I got a great copy machine person, and they call that person, that copy machine person is going to come in and talk about how great you are. If you don't, and they call their copy machine person or somebody from, the web, that copy machine person's going to be like, hey, who's doing your voice and data? Because I've got a great person. If you position yourself as a resource for your clients and they call you every time, not only are you of service, but you're blocking out your competition. So do it for selfish reasons, if nothing else.
That's a great point. I love that. I love that point. So as you started in the networking, how did you find TEDx? I mean, how did it just come on your radar? And then how the heck do you go from, finding out about speaking on it and then being a part of it?
Yeah, it it happened in kind of that reverse order too. So my guy that I worked with when we were growing Motor City Connect, I started Motor City Connect. I met Charlie about 6, 8 months later at a meeting. I recruited him heavily to join me, be my partner in crime, because he had skills that I lacked, and that was beautiful. We had a great partnership.
Awesome.
And he and I started speaking together, and we were doing like the first social media presentations way back in the day, right when before it was even called social media. So we were lighting up town, going all over the place, talking about this stuff, helping people Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter
Yeah.
more effectively. And one day he called me and he said, "Hey, good news. We're putting on a TED event." And I said, "Sweet. Who's Ted?" This was about 15 years ago. It was August 2009, maybe
Yeah.
July 2009. And he's like, "Those videos that I send you all the time with those guys talking." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't think I've watched any of those. But am I
I
speaking
better.
at this thing? Can I speak at this thing?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, you're going to speak. I'm going to speak." I'm like, "All right, cool. Let's put on an event." And had I known then that 16 years later, we'd be talking about putting on the 16th event, I might have been like, "Yo, you got the wrong number, Jack. I
Yeah.
lose my digits." But it's been a hell of a ride, man. It's opened some interesting doors, but more importantly, it's been like the catalyst for inspiration and innovation and some change and some charged particles getting in a room and just putting fire in people's belly. In all sincerity, it's one of the best days I have every year. The 180 days that go along with it aren't always the best days I have, but
Yeah.
the event itself is always stellar.
Yeah. Yeah. That is amazing. I never, I've seen a lot of the talks. I've seen this. I've seen your videos from several of the times you've been talking there, but I can imagine being there with that many positive people talking about the great things that you hear on TEDx talks all day.
All day. Right. And that you said it right, man. We talk about it from stage all the time. Listen, yeah, the people that are up here are really cool, but the people that are attracted to this event are every bit as cool because it's not for everybody, right? There
Yeah.
are a lot of people that give two rips less about what goes on there. But the people that are drawn to it, especially those that are willing to throw out $100 to show up and be there and take the day off, top
Yeah.
shelf. Very
Yeah.
special people, to quote you, sir.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So as you've been doing these TEDx now, wow, you're going on your 16th one. If you had to go down into a couple things you've learned from doing it, what have they been?
You doing it from listening to the speakers or doing it from
Listening speakers,
producing an
just being
event?
a part of it, just being a part of it.
I'll tell you that my all-time single best favorite line forever happened in 2010 from a speaker, Dan Gilbert, who is the CEO of Rocket Mortgage, used to be Quicken,
Yeah,
used to be Rock Financial. He owns the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's done okay for himself. He's been on
yeah,
the Forbes list for over a decade. He's doing well. He's actually had some health challenges, so he's not doing as well. But
yeah,
in 2010, before he started moving in his business to Detroit, before he owned any commercial real estate, he said, and I quote, "You're all thinking too small. Skyscrapers are cheap." And it was like he grabbed me by the throat and choked the life out of me just long enough for me to go, "He just said skyscrapers are cheap." And I Googled this not too terribly long ago to find out when he bought his first skyscraper. And it ended up being about 9 months that the purchase went through after that quote on stage.
wow,
And at the time I Googled it last year, his family of businesses owned about 92 buildings in Detroit.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You're all thinking too small. Skyscrapers are cheap. That one, nothing's beat it since. That was year 2, man. That was the best
Yeah.
line. In terms of what I've learned is you've got to have the right people on the bus. The challenge with having the right people on the bus is you can't expect you from anybody else. And so you've got to really meet people where they are. You've got to position them to play to their strengths. You've got to give them enough feedback, enough direction, and enough autonomy to get the job that you want done. Because if you're not tweaking those things right, feedback, direction, and autonomy, you're dead in the water, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not in the right order, feedback, direction, and autonomy. But it's, you gotta probably do the direction, the autonomy, and then the feedback. But it's, I'm spitballing, man. We're coming. There's no
Yeah.
notes here.
Yeah. I'm taking notes. That's the only notes we've got here today.
That's right.
The way it works. Hey, I wanted to say,
2020.
yeah, it is. It's always easier when you're the ones writing the notes down that somebody else is saying. That's for sure. So we got Curtis Tompkins stopping by. Hey, Curtis, thanks for being here today. You can't expect you from anybody else. That is, you said that, Terry, and that's one of the things that we see when we're talking with our business clients, and they soon have to learn. It's like, listen, you can't expect very many people in your organization, if any, to act as an owner or work like you as a founder. And that's why it's so important to have the right people on the bus. And that's often what we see coming into businesses, is that it's the people that got you there are not necessarily the people that are going to take you where you want to go. And it's a heart to heart thing that you got to do, and you got to help people move around or move on to better things for themselves or whatever it is. But it's the thing that holds a lot of businesses back, I think. But that's a great one. Got to get the right people on the bus.
That's it, man. And that's a Jim Collins line, good to great, right?
Yeah.
He nailed it. It's such an important point. And I think he further said it's not even the right people, it's the right seats.
Yes.
Right? Because you could have the best people doing the wrong things and you're still getting the wrong result.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the cool part about it. When you really get deep into that and understand it's the right people. First of all, if you can get the right people in and then get them into the right seat, and that might not be where they're sitting today, they can move into a different seat tomorrow and they're happier and you're better.
That's right.
That's the cool part.
And you can skill people up too, right? You can do a development plan and grow your people. I've got some clients in the technology space that will hire people that were security guards, that were school teachers, that were anything but technologists, because they know they have a proven system to build them into the people they want. They hire for aptitude and attitude, not skills, right? And I love, your reaction is bang on to that. That's it.
Yeah, it's a way you do it, because then you get people that, because I think that's a win-win. It's a win for the person coming in. It's a win for the company, because I've helped someone upskill, improve their skills, increase their value to an organization, allow them to try new things and do things they may have never thought they could before, because good training allows you to do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So awesome there. So as we're moving along here, couple things are coming to mind. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about the 4 key elements to making better business decisions. And one of the things, it's not even business decisions, it's about business as well, because I was reviewing your videos once again, and you talk about mindset. And I think without even getting into the best business decisions, let's talk a little bit about your mindset as a business leader and how much of a difference that makes.
It's so crazy, right? I do a lot of coaching. And when I'm coaching business owners, nonprofit leaders, whatever the case may be, that's the thing that we spend day one on. because all the skills, all the tactics, all the strategies, all the information I'm going to pour into you over the next 12 weeks, 12 months, what have you, don't mean shit if you don't believe and accept that you have the ability to do the things that we're going to talk about. Right. And so what's in here, this 7 inches ear to ear, is so much more important than anything else. And I would tell you that truly I am recklessly optimistic. My wife will tell you that too, right? I believe everything works out all the time. And I have definitive proof. You know why? Because I'm sitting right here, right now. That's it, man. 100% of the shit life is thrown at me, I've navigated successfully to get to this moment. All of it. So that part's cool. But the mindset itself is, how do you look at things? And that right there, this is a presentation I give. It's my signature talk right now. How we look at things greater than what we see. Right? So how you view what's happening and how you respond to what's happening is so much more important than what's actually happening. Right? Because we can reframe anything.
Yes.
I was having a conversation with a client yesterday that's in the nonprofit space, and she wants to speak more and present more. And we were talking about, she sent me a video of her presenting. And she didn't want to talk about the numbers behind the impact. She said, and I've got numbers, and if you want to hear them, message me and I'll send them to you. And I'm like, don't ever do that again. Say the numbers. And she's like, yeah, but they're small. And I don't. Yeah, your brand's stinking new. Say the number. And she's like, well, how? And I'm like, we've only been open for the last 4 months. And in that time, we've helped over a dozen families do X, Y, and Z. And she's like, well, that sounded really good. And I'm like, still a dozen. The number still sucks. But how you say it, how you look at it is a transference of energy, right? It doesn't have to be minuscule unless you're like, we've only helped 12 people. Yeah, now it sounds like you're not doing squat.
Yes. That's awesome. So as you're thinking about mindset and you're coaching people, you get into behavior, you get into different things that you're teaching people now. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that really is part of leadership that's changing dramatically. Sure. We got 4 generations in the workforce now, and they all don't want to be led the same way
at all, right? And I've said it before in this talk, and I'll say it probably twice more. If we're not meeting people where they are, as opposed to where we want them to be, it's going to be a constant battle and a constant disconnect. We've got to move to them and then Sherpa them along or guide them along. Right. And I'm not saying you got to hold their hand or throw them over your shoulder and fireman carry them, but you've got to get to the starting point of where they are, not the starting point of where you want them to be. And if the gap's that big, they're the wrong person or you're the wrong place. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, right? It was like, I can't find good people, so I have to hire everybody. No, you don't. You don't have a strong enough mission, and you're not clear enough about what's the right thing. But that's outside of the scope of this conversation, Damon.
Yeah.
So last summer-ish, I got certified in this thing called behavioral elements. And behavioral elements is a 4 behavioral drive framework that is based on a book written by 2 Harvard Business School professors. The book came out in 2002. It's called Driven. There's a subtitle about human behavior. There's about 12 books called Driven. This one's Paul R. Lawrence and Nitin Naria, Nahria. They postulated and they backed it up with scientific study after scientific study after scientific study that we have 4 primary drivers of human behavior. Number 1 is the drive to acquire. In behavioral elements parlance, we call that fire, right? Fire is the drive to acquire. Fiery people are characterized by their desire to win. They love to compete. They love to win. They make decisions quickly. They talk quick, they move quick, they act quick, they're decisive, they know where they're going. And if you're going to help them win, they're your best friend. If you're not going to help them win, they don't have as much time for you. Bye bye. You got to go. Right. And that's okay. But you know exactly where you stand. They're not wishy washy. They're not in the chit chat. Right. When there's a negotiating happening, right? Some people are win-win. Those aren't these people. These people want to grind your bones in the dust and make you rue the day you showed up to negotiate because they want to win, right? A lot of times you'll find leaders in organizations, doesn't matter if it's human resources or IT or sales, right? They're fiery personality types because climbing the corporate ladder is winning. So a lot of leaders in that category. And usually they're good, but they expect you to be them, which means they burn people out left and right because you didn't keep up. Yeah. So group 2, right? Drive number 2 is water. Water is the drive to bond. These are your people. They are the ones that care. They're the ones that listen. They're the ones that display empathy. They're incredible mediators. They want peace and harmony. They want everybody to get along. They may break out a guitar and sing Kumbaya and set a little bonfire in the middle of the office. I'm not sure. But they're super cool. They're the ones that people like. They will pay attention to you and undivided attention to you. They're awesome listeners, but they're not as decisive. And they're not as decisive as a rule because they want to know how the decision they're about to make impacts you and her and him and that guy way over there and 3 generations ago and 6 generations ahead, right? They're really, really concerned about the well-being of everybody. And that's great unless you're in a time of crisis. If it's a fire drill, you don't want a water person in charge, right? Because they're going to check with everybody to make sure that running down the stairs is a good idea for each person, because Bobby hurt his knee 3 weeks ago, right? And they remember that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but water people are really, really cool. If you're negotiating with a water person, they're going to let you win, right? It's not even win-win. It's lose-win. I'm going to lose so you can win. And that's interesting, right? That's interesting. Drive number 3 is the drive to learn. We refer to these people as air. Air people are relentlessly curious. They're creative. They're innovative. They're the ones that are doing things that are next, right? They don't even really care about what's going on now. And they certainly don't have any time for what happened in the past. This is how we've always done it is a phrase that will make air people vomit in their mouth because they know there's a better way to do it. Even if it's never been tried, they're willing to go out and try it. Air people can be annoying because if what you're talking about isn't as interesting as what they were thinking about when you started talking, they didn't even hear you, man. They are absolutely aloof at times. They're dialed into whatever is going to be next, right? And that part's super cool. They are, in negotiating terms, they're win-win. They're going to be problem solvers, and they're going to come up with a way to make sure that we both do okay. And if they're negotiating with a fire person who has to win, they're going to just walk away, man. Conflict isn't really an air's thing. They'll argue with you if it's worth it, but it probably, like I said earlier, it's probably not as interesting as whatever they were just doing. So you could go argue with yourself. They don't care, right? They're like a little bit removed from Earth. Super high air person, personally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my air is very high. My water is higher than most people's top score. My fire is balanced in a normal kind of range. And then my earth that we're going to talk about right now, my earth is the lowest score that's ever been recorded out of 40,000 assessments given. I own the single lowest score you could possibly get. So earth is the drive to defend. Earth people are protectors. They are systems and process oriented. They are the ones that you can depend on absolutely to get stuff done. They will go out of their way to make it happen. Earth is exceedingly linear and process oriented, right? You have to go step by step by step by step. And if you talk to them while they're in the middle of the steps, you either just screwed them up or they didn't even look up, right? So they're either so dialed in they couldn't pay a lick of attention to you, or they're going to be, I have to start over now, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how they are. That's how they get things done. They're amazing at getting things done. They're really, really good at it. And they're kind of interesting to be around. You could argue with an earth person. You could have confrontation with an earth person, but unless you can provide factual material, you're not winning that argument, right? They are logic based. And if you give them enough facts, you can persuade them to your side of the argument. But if you can't, you're done. You're toast. They might just walk away because it's not worth their time, or they'll dig in and provide you the details. Earth people are the ones that read the terms of service word for word before they actually sign the agreement, right? That's Earth people. The mortgage paperwork, right? That's 38 pages of BS. They read every word on that too. And they don't care that everybody else signs it. That's not who they are. Yeah. So it's really, really interesting. Earth people and fire people are really more individualistic people, right? Whereas air people and water people can be a little more team oriented. But yeah, it's super cool that, and so to be fair, right? I told you that earth was my lowest, fire was my next lowest, water was second, and air was my highest. So we have all four of these elements in each of us. We have one that's a primary strength. I've seen out of the 100 or so that I've administered, I've seen one person that had two top things. She was air and water at her highest, and they were dead even. But the majority of us have some kind of cascading, it either looks like a little pyramid, or it looks like it's stairs going down or stairs going up, right? Because it's just a bar graph that shows you where you show up. And it's really, really good information. And so when you understand this stuff, right, not only can you recognize what element someone is in the moment you're talking to them, but you know how to relate to them better, right? You understand how to communicate with a fire person, right? I know that if I'm talking to someone that's high fire, chit chat's out the window. Right? I know if I'm talking to someone that's high fire, I better be talking about how to help them win, or they're not going to hear me, right? If I'm talking to someone that's high air, I better be like building on their ideas and adding to that discussion. Otherwise, they're not going to talk to me. If I want to talk to someone that's water, I want to talk about how we can build better relationships and grow and bond and work together and kumbaya it out. Or they're going to be less interested in talking to me. Water is going to talk to you no matter what, right? They really are. Not to consider them the saps of the elements, because that's not what they are. But they feed off of the energy of other people, right? Yeah. And earth people, if it's not a system or a process or something that's going to make it better, I don't care. right? So knowing these things about each of us really helps us dial in from a leadership perspective, from a communication perspective, from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective, right? We can actually get more done because these drives, right? These 4 drives, drive to acquire, drive to bond, drive to learn, drive to defend. We use the word, the professors use the word drive. The word you and I would use is motivate, right? These are what motivate people to take action or not. And so if you understand how to motivate someone, it literally means how to move them, you're better off.
Yeah. And that's what I like about this system like this, where you can really understand the people you're talking to understand how to help them get where where they need to go.
That's exactly it. Right. And you can do it in such a subtle way that, like a good coach or a good lawyer never asks a question if they don't know the answer. You can push people along and have them think it's their idea the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it sounds manipulative, and maybe it is, but it still gets the result that we're looking for.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, and if you're doing it with the right intention for them, for yourself, I mean, that's what I think is and really it's lost in a lot of businesses is as business owners and leaders, our job really is to help people go to the next level, help them develop, and sometimes they don't know what that is, and sometimes it is helping them find that way. And things like this help you do that because you can better communicate with them so they can see why it's the way for them.
That's it. And that's exactly it, right? So this puts it in such a nice, easy to use framework that it's just so good.
Nice.
It's so good.
Nice. So what's got you fired up about helping people with this? What's the thing? What's the thing you see in talking to people?
I think what it is it allows people a couple of things. One, it shows them almost like a mirror who they are, right? So Myers-Briggs, I've been telling people to take the Myers-Briggs personality test for a gazillion years. And I love that. It's a good self-reflection tool, and it really shows you who you are. Mm-hmm. What it doesn't do well is it doesn't show you how to relate to other people. I think DISC is a little better at showing you how to relate to other people, but only if you actually know who they are, right? So you get an okay sense of who you are, you get an okay sense of how to play with others, but neither one of them are at a level of depth that I think is important. Clifton StrengthsFinder is probably my favorite personality assessment, behavior assessment out of all of them, aside from the one I just talked about. Same thing, right? There's 32-ish different strengths, and we only focus on the 5, which means we negate 27 of them.
Yeah.
And no one's going to remember that, and we're not going to identify those properly. And so from a holistic standpoint, this tool gives you enough insight as to you so you can play to your strengths and cover your weaknesses. That's important. And it gives you enough knowledge of others that you can meet people where they are. So those 2 things are why I think this is so powerful.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So as we're talking today, I think this is a great segue in understanding the people around us. As we're talking about this and helping people make better business decisions, what are some of the things that you're helping them with and their teams and things and really using what they know to make better business decisions?
It's fascinating to me. The people I tend to work best with are airy people, right? And so people that have innovation coursing through their veins,
yes,
and have big lofty goals and dreams, but spend time spinning around in circles because everything's an opportunity. And
Yes.
when everything's an opportunity, then nothing's an opportunity and nothing actually gets done. So the folks that really enjoy working with me are the ones that I'd say, okay, empty your bag. Let's throw it all on the table. And this garbage, 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 this is really good, but next year, this is the thing you need to work on right flipping now, because it's the foundation of all the other things that you're trying to get to. Right. And so I had this session today, right? It's what's now, what's next, and what's never.
Now, next, and never. Love that.
So, and that's those folks really work well with me. Earth people drive me nuts, and I drive them nuts. And again, I could bring my wife in here, and she would just nod because she's really high Earth. She's a little higher water, but her Earth is next level. I'm guessing, based on what I know about you, you may be like one of the very few air Earth people that I ever come across.
I would think by looking at them, that probably is.
I just did, like, again, we've had a few conversations. Most of them haven't been recorded like this one, or live. But yeah, my guess is, and it's interesting because we can change, right? The whole model of behavioral elements, their motto is we can choose to behave intelligently. But you can't make that choice if you don't know what the behaviors are and what's driving them. And so there's actual journals that give exercises. Like for me, I could have an Earth journal that teaches me how to be more Earth-like. But I was 26 years old when I wrote on my whiteboard, play to your strengths, find someone to cover your weaknesses. Right? Why the hell do I want to make my D level performance up to a C? Right? I want to bring my B's to A's. There's other people that like this crap. Go do that. Right? That don't like the things I like. Right? So let's partner, and you go do this stuff that I'm lousy at, and I'll do your stuff that you're lousy at, and we'll both be happier.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So as we're doing that, and you're coming into these businesses now, what are some of the things that really excite you coming up? I mean, we got a few minutes left. I just want to wrap with you, see what you see exciting out there, that things are happening. You know, you're helping people with these behavioral traits, learn how to deal with each other, make decisions, grow better teams. But what's really exciting on your horizon?
I just got the I can make that work email a day or so ago from somebody I've been chasing for 10 months. And
nice.
I'm going out of town for a couple of weeks. When I get back, we'll cement this out. In this organization, this leader's got about 1,600 people that report up to him. So he's got a 5-person leadership team that has a 22-person leadership ring, that has a 120-person leadership ring. So he's like, me and the 5 we're good, but that 22, I need some stuff there, and I need some stuff in the next run. So I'm going in for the 22 now, and I'll worry about the 122 after I knock it out of the park with those first 20.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's super delicious, I guess, for lack of a better term. That'll be great. I'm super excited about that. I just helped, this is way outside of the scope, but I just helped a nonprofit leader create a change.org petition to stop the plagiarism and slander of a really interesting Mexican artist community that's doing amazing things, bringing art from Mexico into the United States. And so we just finished the writing of that petition. So I'm excited to see some of the events that are driving people to that and helping put some eyeballs on that. Again, way outside of my scope, but she's got, and she's lovely. And she told me she has ADHD about 47 times. So I don't mind saying that she has it. So I would get information from her, and it would be 8 pages long, right? She sent an email to somebody that does event planning that I introduced her to, and I was like, I should have called this woman and told her, but she'll be fine.
Yeah.
She'll be fine. So it's like, it's always interesting when you meet somebody who provides way too much information as opposed to the opposite side of it.
Yes.
Because it's sometimes it's easier to cut than create.
Yes,
You know? And so I'm looking forward to that popping off. And then TEDx Detroit comes live September 18th. So that's going to be a big day in the D. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we do on this one. Every year we finish this event, and I look at our team and I'm like, guys, there is no way we can top this. And every year we set the bar just an inch or 10 higher. And it's
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Terry, if someone wants to reach out to you and talk to you about coaching, about speaking, what's the best way to get a hold of you, man?
The 2 places that I want people to find me at are LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn.com/in/TerryBean. I got there first, people, so I get to have that one.
Boom.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, you don't have that problem, right?
I don't have that problem.
Is there another Damon Pistolka?
Not in the world.
Not in the world. Yeah. If you Google Terry Bean, you want to have some fun, go Google Terry Bean while I wrap this up.
All right, I'll do that.
Type in Terry Bean into Google. He's a neighbor of yours. He's in Portland, son of a bitch. And you'll see why I called him that. So that's the rest of you don't Google that Terry Bean.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, right. Thanks, man. I owned page 1 of Google until 2014 when this whole thing started. It's been going on for 10 years, man. 10 years. So anyway, he's a convicted child molester. Just so
there's a few problems there.
Yeah, he's got issues. That said, so that one, LinkedIn Terry Bean is one, and then TryBean, TryBean.com is my website. And if you wanted to add /behavioral elements, if anything I said piqued your curiosity as to what your primary driver is, TryBean.com/behavioral elements. You can go and take the assessment. There's a free version. You can see what your primary driver is. If you wanted more, there's a link to a paid version where I'll even walk you through and do some coaching with you if you sign up for that one.
Awesome. Well, Terry, thanks so much for being here today. Just appreciate you stopping by, and always a great conversation.
I loved it, man. Thank you so much for having me, Damon. It's good to see you, bud.
You bet. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here today. And if you got in here late, get back to the beginning and start from the beginning. Listen to Terry. Connect with Terry on LinkedIn. Check him out on his website, TryBean.com. Like I said, I want to thank Curtis for dropping the comments today. And I also want to say something new out here. Kurt Anderson and I have released a live streaming course, man. If you guys want to live stream like we do, check it out in the comments. I think we'll put it in there. You can get on and check out our live streaming course. It's video based, take you from A to Z to be on live. Terry, thanks for being here today, man.
Appreciate it, bud. Thank you. Good to see you.
Hang out just a minute and we'll finish up offline. Thanks, everyone.